Hello, I am Mutajengo Vares and welcome to this presentation. I made an interview with US citizens to check their understanding about how government function. I went on the street, I asked some of them a few questions. So I start by asking what are the branches of government? I asked those people to mention them. So one of the interviews said there are three branches of government. The first one is executive branch, legislative branch, and the last one is judiciary branch. Or when I ask what does each branch do, one of them said that judiciary punish the thieves, and another says punish lawbreakers, and executive implement the laws, and legislative make the laws. So actually those interview managed to make it correct because legislative branch makes laws, executive branch implement laws, and the judiciary branch interpret laws. Normally, legislative branch is held by the president, and judiciary branch interpret the meaning of laws and apply it to individual cases or group cases when there is law breach, and the executive branch just implement the law, and it's subjected to the it's abide by the frame. Yeah, legislative, I made a mistake, is composed of House, Representative, and the Senate, while the executive is held by the president. That's some change I can make. So normally those three, we can say that three branches are somehow interconnected or interdependent because, as you can see, a legislative branch make laws. That's the first one, and then executive branch implement it, enforce it into action, and then the judiciary branch then supervise or interpret the law. You can see it's kind of a chain. But these brushes can check each another, can regulate each another for what we call checks and balances. For instance, each branch of government can change or can act on the branch. As said, the president can veto registration of legislation created by Congress and federal agents. Congress confirms or rejects the president's nominees or candidates, or remove the president from the office, and the justice or the Supreme Court who can overturn and constitutional laws are nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. So now, I also asked another question regarding apart from Democrats and the Republicans, what are other third parties those interviewee know? So from the answer they themselves, that all of them were able to make it. They said the Green Party has the third party, apart from Democrats and Republicans. But I can add on Constitutional Party, Socialist Party, and Libertarian Party, and others. Talking on this, let me focus on the two-system party in the United States. And back then in the history around 1790s, United States was dominated by two parties that are Federalist and Anti-Federalist, also known as the Democratic Republicans. The parties of the 1780s emerged because of disagreements between these two men, Jefferson and Alexander, who held each. So Alexander was the leader of Federalist, and Thomas Jefferson was the leader of Anti-Federalist, and also known as Democratic Republicans. So those disagreements were in three categories. The first one was how government should be governed, and the other disagreement was about the economic view of the United States, how it should be, and the other one was about the foreign policy regarding the United States. So, just Federalist, uh, headed by Alexander, now say that support that the United States should be ruled by wealth class, strong federal government, emphasize on manufacturing, laws of interpretation of the Constitution, and British Alliance National Bank protective tariffs. So that was the characteristic of Federalist. And then Democratic Republicans headed by Thomas Jefferson, their point of view was ruled by people, that United States should be ruled by people, emphasize on agriculture, then French allies and state banks and free trade. So those are disagreement each side had that made to the system party when they dominate the United States since then. And we can say from that one, those are the two parties that formed Democrats and the Republicans now. And from that time until now, they are still the major one that win almost every presidential election in the United States. But also, third parties or minor parties play some role in the government because they can run election for some minor positions, and also they can force they can make a pressure, they can pressure big parties regarding to some issues, and then they can act on it. Also, they can withdraw some votes, and this may affect overall election or overall votes for the big parties. So thank you so much. I hope you understand two system parts in the United States, how it started, and now how it is still affecting the United States, because normally those small or minor parties are enforced or are forced to join these big ones because due to different rules, like presidential debates, like the number of signatures when you're going to run campaign, and economic status. So most of them are forced to join this, and they are not competitive. Also, the United States citizens no longer don't choose to vote for the minor one because most of time they don't count. Their voice are not influential. So thank you. Hope you have understood the two system part in the United States and the branches of government. The last question I asked the interviewee is how the bill becomes a law. One of them said that the people or the public should give opinion to their representatives who take them to the Senate for voting whether it can be accepted or not. So normally there are 9 steps a bill passed through so that it can become a law. The first one, the bill is drafted either by Senate or House representative. The one who drafts a bill and introduce it is called a sponsor, while others who support the bill are called co-sponsors. Then after bill is introduced, after bill is drafted, it is introduced according to where it was drafted. If it is in the House, then it is introduced there. If it is in the Senate, also the bill is introduced there. So after being introduced, the bill is taken to the committee. There are different committees in each organ, specializing in a given field, to study clearly the bill, and if there is more understanding or more clarification they need on the bill, they call upon what you call hearings for more clarification. So if this step is done, then the bill is passed to subcommittee that has more specialization in a given field to study the bill. So after being reviewed by some committee, then the bill the bill is marked up by the committee. So the committee can vote to pass the bill or can vote also to reject it. This is what you call, no, the fifth step is committee make up the bill. When hearings and some committee review is done, the committee needs to mark up the bill. They make changes and there's some alterations to the bill to the floor. If the committee votes not to report the bill, then it is dead. So if the committee votes in favor of the bill, it is reported to the floor, and this is called ordering the bill reported. So the step 6 is voting by full chamber on the bill. So after being voted being accepted in the committee, then the whole chamber should vote whether to pass or reject the bill. Then on the seventh step, the bill, it is called the referral of the bill to other chamber. So the bill is passed to the first chamber, and the same process should be taken. Under this step, there's what you call conference committee that act as intermediator to just have two chambers have a common agreement on the bill. The step number 8 is then the bill goes to the president of the country, so and the president can approve or reject the bill in what you call veto. So the president can make what you call veto of the bill, that is to refuse it. But if the president rejects it, is the where the step number 9 comes in, because Congress may attempt to override the veto if both Senate and the House pass the bill by two-thirds majority. The president's veto is overruled and the bill becomes law. So if the president rejects the bill, then the Congress and the chamber they may make a vote, and if two-thirds of them vote to pass the bill, it is then accepted despite the president refusing it. Thank you. That's the basic process of how bill becomes a law.